2 years ago, the name Sonic Theory would most likely lead you to MatPat's video on how fast he is versus Mario.
It's me, Mario!
Followed by Noggin's rebuttal. Other than that, Sonic really wasn't the type of character or franchise most people thought they could take seriously, or theorize about. But I wanted to change the game, and on March 2015, I started Sonic Theory. Now, the first theory I ever did with my friend HuskyZ was about Amy Rose, and if she suffered from any mental disorder, which was erotomania. To this day, it still remains my most popular Sonic theory, and I thought I'd never have to revisit this topic again because I thought I cracked the code on Amy's psyche. Well, maybe for the games, but what about the different comics and TV shows? Well, I'll be tackling them all, but not by myself this time. I'm GamerGuy7 Aces, and this episode will be a massive collaboration with the other Sonic theorists on Amy and Sonic's relationships throughout all of the continuities in the Sonic franchise. Let's get started. Welcome back, fellow theorists. I'll be kicking off the first part of this group theory by discussing the games, and after the end of this video, click the link below to head to the second part of this group theory, the Sega Scourge.
Yeah, about that, Gamer Guy. Due to some circumstances, I unfortunately won't be able to do a solo video on this topic.
Wait, what?
Well, I'm still in the middle of working on my next Sonic Theorist episode in any free time I have. So instead, if it's okay with you, I'll have to merge my theory with yours, if you don't mind.
So this video will be 2 theories in one? Sounds like a great idea. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, after my Sonamy theory with HuskyZ on the video game canon, stick around to hear the Sega Scourge talk about Sonamy in the Fleetway comics. Now, just to be clear, this is not another theory debate, since we're all going to be discussing different canons of Sonic lore. To be honest, when initially discussing this whole group theory collab, I was not convinced, and didn't like the sound of it at first. I just could not see a relationship working out for Sonic and Amy in these video games. More importantly, I just couldn't bring myself to retcon my own theory about Amy in the games. But I'll approach this with an open mind, and we'll be starting from the very beginning, when Sonic and Amy first met.
You saved me, Sonic. I was afraid I'd never be able to flirt with you again.
Amy and Sonic's relationship started in Sonic CD. That's where Amy's debut in the series started. We don't know much outside of manuals and the anime cutscenes we see in the game, but from what we can see, Sonic feels uncomfortable around Amy. When he saved her at the end of the game, he ran from her while her eyes were closed. It seemed like either Sonic doesn't like her or he's shy. We're not entirely sure. According to the Sonic CD manual, Amy used tarot cards to know who her perfect match was, and Sonic appeared in her fortune, so she decided to pursue Sonic since then. She even changed her hairstyle to match Sonic's quills, so at this point in the series, the relationship is very one-sided. Now, in the Dreamcast era, voice acting was introduced as a better way to convey the characters' interactions and dialogue. From here, Amy and Sonic's relationship has more substance, at least a bit more than what we got from Sonic CD. Starting from Adventure 1, we see Amy daydreaming about her past encounter with Sonic back in CD. Obviously, she's still madly in love with Sonic, that much hasn't changed. I'm not going to go in depth with the game's plot as it's not relevant with their relationship, but at some point in Adventure 1's storyline, Amy and Sonic meet again. Amy approaches him and Sonic freaks out, almost as if he's shocked that he's seeing her again, and once again he runs away from her. Later on, Amy drags him to Twinkle Park before she abruptly gets kidnapped by Zero, who's part of Eggman's 5100 series. Sonic, being the hero that he is, saves her, and from that point on they don't interact much. And it's the same scenario throughout. Amy's madly in love with Sonic, but Sonic still isn't interested in her, runs away from her, then saves her again. Not much progressed in this era in Adventure 2 either. She hangs around with Team Sonic during the events of the game, gets captured by Eggman, and Sonic once again has to save her, although they seem to be in friendlier terms here as she's with Sonic and friends, albeit left behind. Moving on to Sonic Heroes, Amy teams up with Big and Cream to find Sonic and his friends for their own purposes. Amy and Sonic meet up and have a fight leading up to Sonic running away from her again, but at the end of the game she finds him and Sonic runs away from her. It seemed like they were on friendly terms in Adventure 2, but Sonic is still running away from her in the game, like before. Amy's more determined to get him, and Sonic is more determined to stay away from her. Sometimes her love for him is played for laughs and comedy relief. And that's why I just don't see them ever being together. It just doesn't work. Hell, Sonic's had more chemistry with Princess Elise than he's ever had with Amy. No offense to you Sonamy fans out there. Fortunately, it all goes uphill from this point, starting with the modern era. Now for this era, we're going to skip Shadow, Secret Rings, and the non-canon games, as Sonic and Amy don't interact much in those. In Sonic Unleashed, when Amy faces Sonic in his werehog form, Sonic has a different and rather strange reaction to Amy seeing him. Now we could interpret this as him being ashamed of his werehog transformation, since in the game he seems to question himself. But when Tails saw him, he introduced himself as a werehog, whereas when Amy encountered him, he fled from her, which is quite unlike him. Almost as if he was ashamed to let Amy see him looking like that. Even when Chip questioned Sonic about his reaction, he stayed quiet and made a disheartened sound as he walked away. This is very confusing considering Sonic never seemed to show any interest in Amy before, but he seemed afraid to have her see him in this state. Amy finds out about his transformation from Professor Pickle, and even then she still loves Sonic. She even directly tells Sonic that when you talk to her in the game. This is very sweet of her, and since this game, Sonic doesn't really run away from Amy anymore. It's almost like he appreciates the fact that Amy still accepts him even at his lowest point. And in Sonic and the Black Knight, Sonic and Amy actually go out on a date. Now, why did they finally date? We don't know. We don't have much context outside of the ending cutscene where Amy gets mad that he skipped out on their date due to him getting dragged in the King Arthur storybook via Merlina's intervention. Maybe he finally gave her a chance after the events of Unleashed, who knows. But afterwards, she doesn't appear in the next game Sonic Colors, except the DS version, but that's not really canon. In Sonic Generations, she and him only have a few lines together. Amy reverts back to being annoying and pushy, but Sonic doesn't even attempt to run away from her. He just ignores her this time. Now, in Sonic Lost World, she and Sonic's relationship seems even more friendly as she's working together with Sonic and Tails to stop the Deadly Six from sapping the energy from the Lost Hex. She even seemingly dies at one point in the game, and Sonic looks really distraught at her apparent death. So at this point in this era, Sonic and Amy's relationship are in better terms and seems to be oddly progressing. But Sonic is still not as close as he could be. So in conclusion, would Sonamy work in the Sonic games? Perhaps. It all depends on what Sega does with their characters in future installments. But as of now, Sonic and her definitely have a more platonic relationship. Now, with my theory aside, I can imagine that my good friend Scourge has a lot more plot and story to work with, as he'll be having a go at Sonic's canon from the Fleetway comics. Take it away, Scourge.
Thanks, GG. Hey everyone, Scourge here, and I'm just gate crashing momentarily to represent my UK brethren and convey some thoughts on STC, or Sonic the Comics depiction of the Sonamy ship, analyzing the character's specific traits and seeing what we can interpret from this for the overall likelihood of this pairing in this media metaverse. Just quickly before we begin, I'd like to thank the charitable Sonic Guru Productions for helping me write up this short segment on such super short notice. Go check out his channel for a plethora of quality Sonic content ranging from countdowns, discussions, theories, and much, much more. And with that, let's look at Amy first for this study. Amy Rose first appeared in STC issue 21 in a two-part story depicting reimagined events from the Sonic CD storyline, in which she declared herself Sonic's girlfriend, only for this to lead to her inevitable capture by Dr. Robotnik. But even then, she did not back down from this bold and audacious claim, seizing the chance to come face to face with her hero. Upon rescuing her, Sonic begrudgingly made her a member of the Freedom Fighters due to her now fugitive status worldwide. Far divergent from her other media counterparts, this rendition of the Pink Rascal is an exemplary marksman, making use of a home-crafted crossbow as her weapon of choice. Whilst she is prone to the stereotypical archetype of being captured and rescued, Amy takes it in her stride, rising to occasion and proving time and time again that she is more than capable of holding her own with minimal help from others. Even though the standardized image of Amy continued, teasing Sonic about them being a couple, over time the crush became stilted and more focus went on the impending threats they faced as a team, rather than the duo's personal faculty. Her kind nature made ties with Techno the Canary, her best friend in this line of media, and as her repertoire for courageous and practical behavior grew, overall she became arguably the most mature, rational, and fair-minded member of the Freedom Fighters to date, growing so much as a character that she became second in command of the unit itself, whilst Sonic was trapped in the Special Zone, going so far as to lead a full-scale assault against Citadel Robotnik in the Hedgehog's absence. While it's shaky on whether or not she had a distinct crush on Sonic or far more beyond that, while I don't doubt she holds some feelings for him, she definitely played upon the concept when others assumed she was his girlfriend, more akin to seeking recognition than actually full-blown love. More so in an attempt to wind up Sonic for a laugh. Sonic shows no interest in Amy other than a friend and partner against Robotnik. Now, onto Sonic, who in this comic was originally a brown hedgehog hailing from humble beginnings in the Green Hill Zone, before his fateful meeting with the human scientist Dr. Ovi Kintoba, long before the accident that forever changed him into Dr. Ivo Robotnik. The two became inseparable friends, with Sonic spending long days and nights by Kintoba's side, helping the kindly scientist perfect the retro-orbital chaos compressor and breaking the speed of sound on his kinetic gyroscope, an incident that permanently turned him blue and fused his quills together into large curved spikes, giving him that classic and infamous look. STC Sonic also has a vast, more fatal connection to chaos energy radiation. When this power permeates the area or the hedgehog loses control of his thoughts, Super Sonic is born. Widely referred to online as Fleetway Supersonic, this is not his actual name, but rather a tagline derived from the name of the publisher of Sonic the Comic, Fleetway Editions. This super state is a ruthless and psychotic killing machine of pure, unadulterated genocide, attributed to Sonic's deep-rooted negative emotions getting the better of him. On the topic of emotion, STC Sonic is distinctly one-track-minded. He doesn't like being shown up in any respective regard, putting great emphasis on looking cool and maintaining public image, even at the cost of belittling his friends with constant offhanded or bashing comments, like Tails' infamous Pixel Brain nickname. Though this could be a front more than anything. Sonic masks his emotions with attitude, which paints him in a bit of a bad light in various aspects, arriving at flat-out mean in some instances. But he became notably more open after Johnny Lightfoot's death at the hands of the mutated Dracon Abomination Chaos. He gets flustered and easily embarrassed by Amy's playfulness or the concept of civilians assuming that they're some kind of couple, in his eyes, endangering his reputation, and viewing the badgering more akin to torment or harassment that he blows off without giving it a second thought. But while it's true he finds Amy a constant nuisance, he trusts her wholeheartedly, viewing her as one of his closest allies and friends. Conclusion for Sonamy potential? Conceivably. STC's wild, erratic representation of their relationship, end quote, makes it difficult by a wide margin to accurately gauge the plausibility of this couple, especially when considering the events that transpired following Sonic the Comic Online's Goodbye Mobius story arc, after the villainous Grimer's hand in smearing Sonic's name through the use of a shape-shifting metallics and slander in the media. Sonic's heroic image may never be re-established again. Even his closest friends believe him to have turned onto an evil path, with Amy refusing to even listen to his pleas, showcasing an ever more prevalent rift forming between the two, due to Sonic's renegade status, a reality that may render their old bond unendurable in the long run. The long run having been revealed in The Last Hero Standing, a chapter featuring our first look at STC Silver's desolate wasteland of a future he calls home. Ruined by who, you ask? Super Sonic, giving us a clear visual representation of where the world will end up should Sonic crumble under all that's happened and give up on the world that hates him so much. What that has to do with Amy and Sonic sounds shaky, I know, but hear me out. In another notable arc in STC Online, a nefarious psychoanalyst equipped with telepathic powers known as Oscura took control of Sonic's body during a mind swap technique. During his time in Sonic's form, he delved deep into the Blue Blur's subconscious fears, playing upon these anxieties in an effort to cripple Sonic's resolve and destroy him inside and out. These fears included hydrophobia, of course, anything large and flying, a fear originating from the Death Egg most likely, and lastly, the fear of watching Amy Rose settle for someone else. Oscuro was eventually defeated, of course, and Sonic's body was restored to him. But considering that Oscuro was manifesting what was said to be Sonic's own hidden cogitation, Sonic may actually be slowly developing feelings for the girl that once drove him crazy. Sonic denies this, of course, and it's unknown if future installments will advance upon this subtext narrative. I'd certainly be interested to see where this would-be scenario could go. Possibly it could lead up to Amy reuniting with Sonic and resolving past differences, feelings being laid out on the table, ushering a new era of unity for the pair, and single-handedly preventing a dark future from ever happening. So yeah, in the world of Sonic the comic, Sonic and Amy's fruitful future love affair may not be a total no-go. It's a dubious and stagnant love at the moment, sure, but this median of friendship mixed with spite and moral respect could give rise to genuine feelings of love to come. Only time will tell, I suppose. That's my views on it anyway. With that bombshell, I've been the Sega Scourge, the Sonic Theorist. Back to you, GG.
Thanks again for joining me in another video, Scourge, on such a short notice.
No problem, GG. It's really been a pleasure, and it's definitely been an interesting one to cover, the whole Son-Amy relationship thing.
Alright everyone, now be sure to click the link below to watch the Sonic Guru's theory on Sonamy, using the canon from the Sonic Boom TV show.